What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bios3 Raw TV. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about tragedy. And I get questions and comments and have discussions all the time with people about the bad things that have happened in my life, the good things that have happened in my life. I think I've had just as many bad things happen in maybe the first 22 years of my life as I had good things happen throughout my entire life. And I feel like those things really shape someone as a person. And the things that you go through define who you are later on in life. And there's never an all good or all bad time. Things go up and down. If you have a really good time, enjoy it, because you're going to be coming down and have something bad that happens. Things always balance out in the universe. For some reason, karma, whatever you call it, there's a balance. There are highs and lows. So you weather the lows, and you enjoy the highs, and that's how it goes. If there is a low, there is going to be a high. If there is a high, there is going to be a low. That's how it works, okay? Now, when you're a kid, you don't know this, okay? And now, if I think back to when I was about 15, because I still had long hair, and I wasn't driving yet. So about 15 years old. And we'll start this story time with that summer when I was 15. I go to a barbecue at a friend's house, and I meet this beautiful Portuguese girl, gorgeous. Her name was Maureen. And it was one of those things where, you know, we're at the barbecue and you kind of keep looking at each other. You keep looking, she looking at me, he looking at me. And one thing leads to another, and Maureen and I wind up dating. And she's fun, she's smart, she's beautiful, she's all these things, she's great. And along with Maureen comes one of her friends, who is this bright-eyed, bubbly, always smiling, energetic girl, Amy. Amy was very short, about 5'3", 5'2". Maureen was like my height. And a lot of times when we all hung out together, it was, you know, Amy was there with her boyfriend or by herself. But the bottom line is there's a bunch of us hanging out all the time, not just me and Maureen all the time. And, you know, we would hang out at different places like Cold State Park and all these things. And Amy was always around. And she was just kind of like, hey, there's Amy. You know, Amy's here. Cool. Nice kid. Always upbeat. Always cool. Always fun to hang out with. And she became kind of like the little sister that you pick on because it was funny and she could take it and, you know, and laugh it off. So I remember this one time we were all hanging out at the park, and I remember we were sitting in a car, and there's probably 30, 40 people around. Some people were drinking, some people weren't, whatever. And Amy had her back to the car. When I was sitting there, I turned and looked, and I pulled her shirt in and rolled up the window so it stuck her shirt in. Ha ha ha, you're stuck. You know, little stupid things like that. Of course, I let her out. Or we were at a party where at someone's house, and there was a pool there. She had changed up and took her bathing suit off and laid it like over a chair. And I remember coming out going, whose bathing suit is it? They go, it's Amy's. They took it and threw it up in the light. Ha ha ha. You know, jokes on Amy again. And then I took the skimmer and took it down. So it's like you would do things to her, but then do things to let her know that, you know, this is because I love you. This is because we like you. You're our buddy. So eventually, you know, this is like, I don't know how long it was, but, you know, me and Maureen split up, and she lived in Bristol, I lived in Warren, so it wasn't a huge, you know, separation of towns, but a lot of the Warren and Bristol people didn't get along, so it wasn't like we ran into each other a whole lot after we were dating. And I remember very specifically that one, hang up, Brew, what do you want it for, hey? Of course we're making a video, Bruno wants to be involved. And I remember very specifically one night, this is going after we had split up. Me and my cousin Christopher worked at a pizza place together called Belasco's. Now, my cousin Christopher is the one who passed away in a drunk driving accident. And after work one night, we drove up into Bristol into this big parking lot. It was a huge, giant parking lot. Like, if you're at one end, you don't even know what's going on at the other end. And we were smoking weed, which was stupid. So all of a sudden, cops come out of nowhere, and we're like, holy shit, we're going to get busted. Let's get out of here. That's the first thing, we run from the cops, right? They weren't after us, they were going by us, so we took off. It wasn't until like maybe a day or two later, that we found out that in the back of that parking lot on the other side that we couldn't see what was going on was a bunch of people hanging out. Again, everybody liked to hang out in groups at this point, like back in this day, at this time or whatever. And Amy, Maureen's friend, had a fight with her boyfriend. They had broken up. She went to this parking lot where he was hanging out, wanted to talk to him, and he was upset about something. For whatever reason, he told her, you know, I don't want to talk, whatever. She got upset. She got in her car. She turned around in the car, sped off towards a pole, One of those giant pylon poles that don't move. Cemented into the ground. It's like 30, 40 feet high. And smashed her car into the pole and killed herself. In front of everybody that was in the parking lot. That's why the cops had flown by. That's why the ambulances were there when me and Christopher were sitting there. That's what had happened. And, you know, I remember getting the news and I was like, what? Like, not only did it happen, but it happened in front of everybody. Like, holy shit. Like, how that's absolutely going to traumatize people for, you know, the boyfriend, all that stuff. But, like, you know, she never acted like she was going to do anything like that. She was always happy. She was always upbeat. She was always fun to be around, always smiling. You know, no matter how much we messed with her, she would smile and, you know, kind of brush it off, and it was fine. Like, what would make her go to that place, that dark place where she could do something like that? And I remember not really knowing what to do. Because that's the first, you know, I was still early, mid-teens, not knowing how to comprehend what just happened because I had never known anybody who had committed suicide or died or, you know, I mean, of course, older people that were sick, but she wasn't sick. This wasn't coming. She wasn't ill. She didn't have a disease. You know, she decided on her own to do this. And I remember it just, I mean, it leveled everybody around. People that didn't even really know her were just leveled because here's this young girl who everybody liked. And to this day, and I don't even know if Maureen's going to see this or not, but to this day, because we're still friends on Facebook, we haven't spoken in years, but, you know, I look back and the maturity now that I didn't have then, that even though Maureen and I had broken up, I should have been there for her then, because I felt like I knew her a lot better than a lot of people had. And I just was immature and didn't know what to do. And I wasn't there. And if she sees this, I apologize for not being there. I didn't have it in me. I wasn't mature enough. And I remember I had moved with my parents from one house to another. And I had a box that I was unpacking. And I found Amy's sunglasses. This is probably a year or two after she died. And the only thing I could think of was, Maureen would probably want these. For whatever reason, she'd probably like to have these. So I hadn't talked to Maureen in a long time. So I called her, told her I had the glasses. She came over. She cried. We sat down and talked for a while. And, you know, to this day, that's the first tragedy. So people ask me, you know, well, what are the things that you've been through? I mean, addiction, loved ones being killed in drunk driving accidents. I've had several friends kill themselves, suicide. I've seen my grandmother pass away when she had cancer, like watched her pass away. I mean, you name the things that you see throughout your life that are going to shape you to be who you are. And you then have to decide, is this who I'm going to be? Who do I want to be? Is this who I am, and what am I going to be in the future? And all these things shape you. So now I know, you know, knowing what I know now, that sometimes the most unlikely person, like I was probably the most unlikely person that should have comforted Maureen, but because I could have, I should have. So if there's someone out there that, you know, you maybe think, well, I'm not that close to them, but I really want to reach out to them and help them in this time of need, do it. Do it. Sometimes help comes from the most random places, and you wouldn't even know. So, and I remember putting in my yearbook, in my subscription things, in the, whatever you call it, the yearbook quotes, RIP ALC, Amy Lynn Cabral. I mean, it was a few years after Amy had passed away, and it was still weighing on me enough to put it in my yearbook, which, let's face facts, yearbooks last forever. So, that's my take on what people should do in tragedy. That's my first tragedy. Today it still weighs on me, and I don't forget about it. Never going to forget about it. And that's the things that happen that you have to overcome and get beyond. But hopefully it makes you stronger in the long run. Biostraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. www.biostraining.com is the blog, and we're out.